Once again, I don't care if you agree with welfare programs or not. If there's a program made to help people who are in need and a millionaire is taking those funds for his own usage, that is evil. All right, so entertain me for about 30 seconds here, all right? Now, imagine Thanos, all right? And now we all know Thanos. Thanos is the big baddie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know, he gathered all the stones. He snapped his fingers, killed everybody, all right? Everybody is dead. Half the universe is gone, all right? And then in the Avengers Endgame, I believe, where they find Thanos on some planet, you know, his arm is all messed up. He's just trying to live his best life, you know what I'm saying? And they get to him and they're ready to kill him, right? Let's imagine before Thor did what he did. Let's imagine that Thanos was like, hey, before you kill me, before you guys just whoop on me, I have cancer. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I know what I did was crazy, but have pity on me. I have cancer. Do you think any one of those Avengers would care? Probably not. All right, so I say all that to say this. Brett Favre, I do not care. I honestly do not care what you are going through right now. You still have to pay what you have done. If you do the crime, brother, you gotta pay the time. You know what I'm saying? And just in case if you guys forget, I've done a story almost like a year ago. Like, this is a year ago story, and I remember when I spoke about this. So just in case if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, let's go ahead and hear what Brett Favre is going through. Let's see what he wants everybody to kind of forget what he's done, because he's going through some things. Let's take a listen.
I wanted to help my alma mater and benefit the community. Southern Miss introduced me to the nonprofit to see if they could help with the funding. I had no way of knowing that there was anything wrong with how the state funded the project, especially since it was publicly approved by many state agencies and multiple attorneys, including the Attorney General. Sadly, I also lost an investment in a company that I believed was developing a breakthrough concussion drug I thought would help others, and I'm sure you'll understand why it's too late for me, because I've recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's. Oh. This is also a cause dear to my heart.
Oh,
recently.
Hold on. Okay. He has Parkinson's. I don't know if he's proved it, but from what I know, he's just stated it. I haven't seen any proof or records of it. So let's just take his word. I mean, that only goes so far, but he has Parkinson's. Now listen to how he kind of distance himself from everything that he's done, and he's throwing that in there for a reason. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
The doctor running the company pleaded guilty to taking TANF money for his own use.
Oh, okay.
I believe that I got swept up in a civil lawsuit at the instigation of State Auditor Shad White, an ambitious public official who decided to tarnish my reputation to try to advance his own political career. Even after he applauded me for returning the funds and said there was no evidence that I knew TANF funds were involved.
Okay, so if you are not familiar with what he did and just the amount of evidence, and when I say evidence, like they literally caught him red-handed. Like the only thing that would be more evidence is like a picture with him sitting on TANF money. Welfare money. Like that would be the only next step up from this. But if you're just watching that for the first time, it's like, yes, people will use big names like a Brett Favre for their own political advancements. Like we know people are like that, especially in politics. If they can like pin anything on you, and it may not even be true, but if they can get the public to believe it, then that's almost like a point for them. Like, so that's not out of the realm of possibility. But let's take a trip back into time, just a year ago and some change, and let's just revisit some of this information. And you tell me is Brett Favre just trying to use this whole Parkinson's disease as like a shield to be like, hey, take pity on me because, I didn't know. I just kind of got swept up and people were just kind of using me as a tool. And I kind of got caught up in some things that I was not aware of. You tell me. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
By now, you might have heard something about a Mississippi welfare scandal involving Hall of Fame quarterback Brett Favre. And let's face it, if this story happened just a decade ago, no media outlet would be able to stop talking about it. But welcome to 2022, and we have a lot to be distracted by these days, so let's get you caught up. So these are the four main players in this scandal that you need to know about. On the far left is former Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant. He was the man in charge of the state of Mississippi when all of this went down. Now, next to him is John Davis, the state's former welfare agency director. Then next is Nancy New. She was the head of a nonprofit in Mississippi that worked with the state welfare agency. And then next to her is, of course, Brett Favre, former NFL quarterback and Mississippi native. They're all caught up in an alleged welfare fraud scheme that, to the Mississippi State Auditor, says involved the misuse of more than $70 million, earmarked to go to the state's poorest. The money was instead used for all kinds of non-welfare related pay.
I don't know what world you would have to live in, but if you think mismanaging, taking from $70 million in TANF, that's welfare money. You can have your opinions on welfare and your disagreements with that, but any program that is meant to help people, and we know people do genuinely need help, taking $70 million from that for your own lavish whatever you want to do, and you're a millionaire on top of that. Like, you already got money, so it's not like you're in desperate need of money. You got money. That is an evil thing to do. Once again, I don't care if you agree with welfare programs or not. If there's a program made to help people who are in need, and a millionaire is taking those funds for his own usage, that is evil. I'm just saying.
Payouts, like to a retired pro wrestler, a horse farm, and yes, to Brett Favre. Keep in mind, this is the same state that's capital city couldn't even deliver clean drinking water for months to its residents. And it ranks as the poorest state in the country, with nearly 20% of its residents living in poverty.
More than 20%. And this was a year ago. So I have looked, I can probably bet my last dollar that things have not gone significantly better in Mississippi. A year ago, it was ranked its poorest state, and more than 20% of its residents are considered poor. And you think stealing money from the poorest state is a good look? Bro, you're not going to win that battle. Let's just say that.
That state auditor's report found that Favre took more than $1 million for speeches he never gave. Favre has since paid back that money, but the state says he still owes more than $200,000 in interest. That same report shows $5 million in welfare funds were used to build a new volleyball stadium at Favre's alma mater, the University.
$5 million for a volleyball field? I mean, I'm not a volleyball fan. All right. I mean, just look at me. I do not care about volleyball. But I can tell you there's no reason on God's green earth why somebody would need to spend $5 million, let alone $1 million, anything for a volleyball field. Like is the soccer balls made out of gold, like with gold stitching or something? Like, is the net made out of gold? It has like diamond gemstones on the side of it. Like, what do you need $5 million for a volleyball field? Just throw some sand. Like, we can get you something at Walmart for like $100. Like, come on, man. What is going on with people, man?
University of Southern Mississippi. His daughter just happens to have played volleyball at USM at that time.
Okay.
Favre and Bryant have denied knowing where the money was coming from, and neither has been charged with a crime, but Davis and New have. This spring, New and her son pleaded guilty to bribery and fraud charges and agreed to cooperate with prosecutors. Since then, an attorney representing New's nonprofit has handed over text messages from Favre that suggest to critics his further involvement in the welfare scheme. Favre allegedly writing in one text, "Nancy, Santa came today and dropped some money off." The messages don't indicate Favre knew exactly where the cash was coming from, though. Then just last week, Davis pled guilty to several federal and state charges. In the plea, Davis also agreed to fully cooperate with prosecutors as they pursue the case further. Joining me now to help break it all down is AJ Perez. He's a senior reporter for Front Office Sports, and he's been covering this story closely, as with a lot of other stories that we're always interested in. AJ, thanks so much for joining the show today.
Come on, AJ.
I mean, I kind of wanted to cover the waterfront in that intro. Is there something that I've missed, especially in terms of recent developments, that you think our viewers should know about?
There's a couple things, but you covered it very well. One was he didn't get the money funneled to the college, but he also was trying to get $1.5 million for an indoor football facility to help recruit Deion Sanders' son in 2019.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Trust me, I wasn't going to let that one sit on the sidelines, no pun intended. So we just talked about John Davis taking a plea deal. You've written that you believe that Brett Favre just might be the very next target for prosecutors. How worried should he be that charges could be on the way now that Davis himself has taken a plea deal?
Yeah, as you laid out, there is two big fish that haven't been indicted yet. That's the former Governor Phil Bryant and Brett Favre. Brett Favre is being sued in that lawsuit where we got all those text messages last week, and we've gotten several text messages that seem to show that Favre knew the money was coming from, somewhere maybe that it shouldn't be coming from. And that was, that's how he's been attached to more than $8 million of welfare, the welfare funds either funneled to him, like you mentioned, through the speeches or to his projects. So, and the other one's Phil Bryant, who is not a plaintiff, unlike Favre. Favre is a plaintiff in that lawsuit, as you mentioned. But yeah, Bryant is still, that's who released all the text messages to try to on last week. He was trying to distance himself from Favre and trying to lay some blame on Favre instead of him.
AJ, is it just me? But I feel like this Brett Favre issue has kind of been percolating for a while. Tell our viewers, how long has Favre kind of been a target of this investigation? I mean, the money for the speeches that he took, for the speeches he never gave, God, I feel like that was yesterday, but it's been a while, right?
Yeah, it goes back to 2017, 2018 when...
2017, 2018. So he's been doing this for a long time, or at least before now, obviously, because that was 2022. And there was text messages stating that was there any way that the news could ever pin this on him? Would there ever be evidence of them tracing the money back to Brett Favre? And Lord beholds, he gets caught up, and that's further proof that he knew he was taking money that he should not have been taking. I'm just going to say this. I know the story isn't as sexy as some other ones, but I just want to make clear that anyone who is watching this, that folks like myself are not going to forget that people like Brett Favre, these millionaires and billionaires who already got more than 80% of Americans. I mean, I'm not saying Brett Favre is living his best life. When you got bigger money and a lot of money, you're going to have more bills, big bills and all of that, right? I get that. But when you start to take money from people who need it, it's really hard for me to care about anything that you're really going through. You know what I'm saying? Like 80% of Americans are struggling bill to bill, check to check. And you sitting here spending over $5 million for your daughter's volleyball team. Really? And you want me to care what you're going through? You could at least do the speeches and say, hey, my speeches were worth $1 million. Hey, politicians do that all the time. But what you can't do is charge $1 million for a speech that you didn't even do. Why do you think you're getting that money? Hey, I wasn't born. I was born that night, all right? But I wasn't born last night. That's all I'm gonna say. But once again, if you think Brett Favre didn't do it, or if you just think that, a billionaire should use any and every opportunity to get money, I mean, that's capitalism at its best right there. You want capitalism, that's what you get right there. So if you think I'm wrong, like always, let me know in the comments down below. And like always, let's have that conversation.